Yo, what's good? Welcome to Unapologetic Live. I'm your host, Lebron, and T-Dog sitting next to me today.
Ouch. Is this a podcast?
Is
What's going on
this like a real life podcast? Am I like a real life podcaster, ladies and gentlemen? Apparently, we just got this whole setup today, which is great. And now we're going to come and talk to you about some very important stories. And happy Friday, by the way, guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend when we finish up here.
On here.
You got your Friday shorts on. Taylor's favorite day of the week is Friday. Spence is in the house.
What's up, y'all?
Yo, he's not running chat. Although, are you running chat, Spence? What are you going to be doing?
Chat today.
Is anybody running the chat? Is Taylor going to be
running? The chat is running wild is what's happening.
Annie's on. Annie running chat today.
Annie, what's up, Annie? Everybody say hi to Annie. Wish her luck in the chat because I know you guys are menaces. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about a story that I've been seeing everywhere, and by everywhere I mean Twitter, but everywhere, and that is the story surrounding Ohio abortion laws. You guys have probably heard this. You're hearing about a 10-year-old who heinously and unfortunately was raped, became pregnant, and then sought out an abortion and left the state of Ohio and went to Indiana to do so. So this story came out. The progressive left was talking about it, running everywhere, writing articles about it, and I saw quite a few conservatives come out and say, this is a lie, this is a hoax. Now, of course, there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors here. The water is a little muddy because it was hard for them to go and find the specific report of this 10-year-old's rape incident, to find the report about abortion. So numerous conservatives came out and said, this is a lie, this is a hoax, this is just the political left trying to galvanize people behind this pro-abortion argument. Come to find out, the story was not a lie. This 10-year-old in Ohio was a rape victim to a 27-year-old illegal immigrant, and after she became pregnant, her mother took her over to Indiana to get an abortion. Now, I'm going to try to tell you this entire story in its entirety without leaving anything out, although it's very difficult because it feels like slowly but surely there's always new news coming out. People are switching their angle on it, whatever. Now, the left said, here's the story of a 10-year-old who was raped by this 27-year-old man, and she had to cross state lines, had to go to Indiana in order to get an abortion. False. Ohio state law actually covers and would have covered this abortion for this young 10-year-old girl. Devastatingly, this whole situation is just absolutely horrifying. But Ohio would have covered this procedure, and it would not have been an illegal thing to do. Basically, it's stating that if you need an abortion because it's going to affect your body in a way that is irreversible, or you're not capable of having this pregnancy, carrying it to term, and having the birth of the child, you can get an abortion. So the 10-year-old would have been covered under Ohio law in order to do this. So that was one lie, a lie that was pushed by the progressive side of things. Okay? So the Republicans and conservatives said this story was false, maybe because they couldn't find evidence of it, maybe because they couldn't find the report, but that was wrong. So we're one on the left side, we're one on the right side. Then we find out, once we've validated the story, we find out that it's actually true. The 27-year-old man who is responsible for the rape of this 10-year-old girl, disgustingly, is also an illegal immigrant. So now conservatives are hopping on Twitter saying, this never would have happened. This never would have been a situation if Biden's America hadn't allowed this illegal immigrant to cross our borders and enter the country. And while that is true, does that mean we need to deflect from talking about the actual abortion problem in this case? No, both need to be talked about. So I'm seeing conservatives saying, this is something to the effect of, this is a non-starter because he was an illegal immigrant. So it's not anybody's fault. He was allowed into this country illegally, and if he wasn't, it never would have happened. And while that statement is true, I hate to say this, but there are plenty of instances where this could happen again with an American citizen, an American male citizen being the perpetrator of a crime like this against a young person, and it could be another 10-year-old. So we have to accept that too. And now I see everybody on the left, all these left blue check marks saying, well, look, the Republicans said it was a lie, they said it was a hoax, and that's what we're going to focus on. And They lied, they invalidated this 10-year-old's experience. Okay, I get it. Now on the right, they're saying, now the left is lying about the immigration status of this person. They're calling him Ohio man in articles, which they are doing. They're lying. And now we're sitting here watching two parents point fingers at each other. Why can't both be true? Why can't we accept that both are true and then move on and have the discussion? And situations like this, when I watch them happening, and I look at young people who say, I'm done with this system. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't identify with the right. I don't identify with the left. In fact, I don't even know if I want to see these country systems stand as they are now. When I see stories like this, I cannot be mad at people like that. I sympathize with people like that, because if you're going to watch two people scream at each other and try to cover up one's mistakes and the other side's covering up theirs while still pointing the finger, we're not going to get anywhere. So here are the facts of the matter. At least as far as we know so far. It could come out tomorrow that all of this is fabricated, or it could come out tomorrow that this is an entirely different situation. But as far as we know right now, a 10-year-old girl was raped by a 27-year-old illegal immigrant in the state of Ohio. She became pregnant. The mother, instead of having an abortion in the state of Ohio, which would have been legal, went to Indiana, and the 10-year-old received an abortion. The 27-year-old illegal immigrant has come and confessed to the crime, and now they're doing DNA testing and all this investigation into not only the 10-year-old, but also her siblings. They're looking into the mother's story. The mother is coming out and playing cover for the person who raped her daughter. They don't know why yet. They don't know if it's because he's an illegal immigrant and she doesn't want him to get deported. They don't know if he has some sort of relationship with her. They don't know if maybe she's an illegal immigrant and is just wanting this all to go away so she doesn't get deported. There are many layers to this, but that's what we know so far. So what I would ask of people who are having discussions about this story in particular is come to the table and have the discussion. And guess what? It's not only going to be an abortion discussion, it's going to be an immigration discussion. And you can have those two things be true at the same time. The fact that this guy is an illegal immigrant, while very telling about the state of our country right now, does not eliminate the abortion discussion that's probably going to need to be had. And I know people are saying, well, the Ohio law covers this, so it wouldn't have been illegal anyways. Yes, I totally understand. Get that. But there are conservatives who are now hopping on the internet and saying, well, she should have had the baby. These are discussions we need to be having. And you know where I stand on this. And everybody here at PragerU, I imagine, has varying views about this issue in particular, being pro-life versus pro-choice. For the most part, I'm pro-life. I think when you have instances of rape, particularly of somebody of this age, 10 years old, we got to start having that discussion about choice. And there will be some people who say, no, we're not going to have a discussion about choice. She should have to carry that baby. And I have seen people say that. To me, that's a little shocking. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I'd love to hear your guys' in the comments, and maybe Taylor or Spencer can read out what some of your opinions are when it comes to this case in particular. But for me, I would never want to be the person who looks at that family and goes, your 10-year-old daughter has to have that child, when a 10-year-old, just anatomically, that is going to be a tremendously traumatic experience. So that's my stance on that. But the true issue that I have with all of this is the finger pointing and the back and forth. And you turn on one news channel and you're hearing Republicans lie about a 10-year-old, and they discredit a 10-year-old and call her a liar and a hoax creator. And then you turn on the other channel and they go, the leftists have lied about the immigration status of the rapist, and that's what we should be focusing on with the open borders and everything in the immigration that we're currently experiencing in America. Both can be true. Both can be true. So can we please, for the love of all that is good, sit at the table and have both discussions? Because right now, it's just agenda. And we don't need it. It's just going to create more turmoil, more division to a story that is already so horrifying. This young girl is going to grow up, and I just hope that she doesn't go and look at all the things that people have said about this particular thing, this particular experience. I'm hoping that this is not something that is going to create problems for her later on in life, although the damage is done. I mean, she's already traumatized. I don't know what else you could possibly do. I'm sure internet comments are going to be the least of her trauma when she grows up from this current experience. But a lot of it I've seen, man, it's childish. It is childish for what it is. And now that we have all the facts, now that you have all the facts, let me know how you feel about it. Any interesting comments?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of people, really on both sides, Benny, saying that it's dangerous for the 10-year-old to try to carry a baby in the first place, and we don't know the consequences to her. But then on Facebook, I'm seeing Lindsay says, why is it the baby's fault? It's not her fault either. Adding trauma on top of trauma only creates more trauma, which I think is going to be your comment on the more far conservative side is, hey, and that's really where I tend to land is if I don't know the medical side of whether a 10-year-old can safely carry a baby. I would assume not for the baby or for the mother. But yeah, why should the innocent life that has been created, because it is a life, should not be the one to be punished in this situation. If anyone's going to be punished or executed, it should be the rapist.
Right.
Is where I stand.
There's such a huge spectrum of belief on this. And that's, I think, why everybody needs to come and decide really where they stand on this. Because as many as there are many conservatives saying, well, he's an illegal immigrant. It wouldn't have happened if he wasn't an illegal immigrant. Okay, come on now. You know that there are American citizens here in the United States who are disgusting and would abuse a child. So let's acknowledge the fact that, yes, he is an illegal immigrant. And maybe if we had treated that problem, this wouldn't have happened. But can we also acknowledge the fact that this could happen with an American citizen as the perpetrator? And once we acknowledge that, where do you stand on it? And you need to decide where you stand on it. And that's fine. And if you err on the side of pro-life, that's going to be a discussion we're going to have. If you err on the side of pro-choice, that's a discussion that we're going to have. But so long as we just keep talking past each other about totally different points and trying to make both sides look like demons when it comes to this, we have a problem. You know, I can't think of a person in the world. I have not met a person ever in my life who would read a story like this about this 10-year-old girl's experience and find joy in reading it or find joy in the situation that she's in. But I see people saying that about the people that they disagree with, that they find joy in having this situation happen. People on the right saying, oh, well, the left finds joy in it because it galvanizes their argument and bolsters their argument. People on the left saying they find joy in this because they want to have control over women's bodies and force people to have pregnancies. Is that a true characterization? And I'm sure that most of you who watch my show, you know where I stand on things. You're just as reasonable. And when you see situations like this, you just go, oh man, it's sad that we even have to discuss a situation like this. It's sad that something so horrific could occur like this, that we have to discuss the laws surrounding this. That's where I stand on that. This is a horrific thing that we should never even hear about and never have to make legislation for, but here it is, and it's in our lap and we have to do it. So I'm not demonizing people. I could totally see how a progressive person would be like, absolutely, you need to have the choice, and how a conservative person would go, well, I don't know, because that's an innocent life. I don't know. And as soon as we can agree, both sides think this is disgusting. Both sides think this is horrible. Both sides think this is traumatic. We're going to get a lot further. Can we all agree on that? I think we can all agree on that. And if we can't, oh my gosh.
We're in trouble.
We are in trouble.
One other thought here is if you're out there and you celebrated the reversal of the Roe versus Wade decision, what that did is send the legislation and the decision making back to the states, which means your elected representatives that represent your thoughts and interests have to do what? Debate and discuss and legislate based on what happens on that debate floor. And if we as individuals and people in society cannot have these discussions ourselves in good faith, then why should we expect our leaders to? And why are you celebrating that a decision is being, that the decision was handed back into the realm of debate when we can't even have that honestly? So if you're celebrating Roe versus Wade's reversal, then you should be engaging this type of conversation in good faith and not just trying to use a tragedy for political points, no matter which side you're on.
Right. So these are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. First of all, just assuming that this story is true. Again, like I said, it could come out tomorrow that it's not true. Assuming this story is true, what's your stance on it? Okay, so we got to tackle the illegal immigration part of it. Okay, let's assume that's tackled. What happens when an American citizen does this to a 10-year-old girl? Which happens. And we are in the peak, I believe, of child abuse in the United States of America. We are the highest sex trafficking country in the world. Unbelievably so, but yes, we are. So what happens when there's another child that this happens to, and it happens to be an American citizen? and that there was nothing that they could have done prior to stop this thing from happening. We have to decide that. For me, you know how I feel. That's a 10-year-old girl. Either direction she goes in, she's going to have trauma for the rest of her life. I'll leave that to her. Now, you guys might think differently than that, and I respect that. I respect you having a different opinion on that. But the back and forth and the demonization is unbelievable. And that's all I have to say about that. We might cut this as a separate clip and put it out because so many people are talking about this story. And I don't feel as though anybody is giving each side its proper display, a proper good faith characterization of what they are saying. We are just talking over each other while a little 10-year-old girl is going to grow up and look at all this happen in the future. Luckily, I mean, we should feel good that she can't truly fathom what's happened to her right now. And she can't fathom the fact that an entire country is using her story to demonize their political opposition. Gross. Anyways, moving on from that story. We got the hard stuff out of the way first, guys.
On to Fun Friday.
On to something a little bit different here. Okay, so we've kept up with the Brittney Griner story. For those of you who are unaware, Brittney Griner is a WNBA player. She went over to Russia, and on February 14th, I believe, she was detained because she went to an airport and she had marijuana cartridges allegedly in her possession. So she's been detained by Russia. She's been there for over 100 days now. And of course, there has been extensive response to this. Brittney Griner is known for having protested the U.S. national anthem on several occasions and said she would be dedicated to doing so throughout her entire basketball season. We see this in the way of kneeling during the national anthem, not pledging her allegiance, not wanting to show pride in America. Now, since being detained in Russia, she has written a letter to the Biden administration and said, you know, I feel bad. She wrote to them on July 4th and said, I am really reflecting on myself now that it is July 4th, and I'm coming to terms with what freedom actually means. And to me, that spoke that she was reevaluating her stance on America and the ideas, rights, and privileges that are unique to American civilization. Now, the current administration did respond and say they're going to try their best to get her out of the situation or to at least help her while she is over there and try to find a way to get her back into the U.S. But LeBron James came and hopped into the conversation and had something to say. Here's the clip. We'll talk about his comments.
I don't know how many of them follow the Brittney Griner situation. Has everybody followed that? No. So there's a woman named Brittney Griner who's an amazing basketball player, amazing person. She was in Russia playing. The war broke out. On her way back, flying home, they said she had some amount of hash, which was illegal in Russia, and she is in Russia. We don't really know where. She's been there
over 100. It had got to be over 110 days.
Or something like that. It's pretty fucked up what's going on.
The WNBA season has started, and she still
has not come back.
She still hasn't come back.
She's a superstar.
Superstar.
I mean, we're talking about this is the top of the top. This is LeBron of the WNBA.
You, being you, LeBron James, have you thought of like if it was you travel to Europe, you do these things, like have you put yourself there in terms of like, man, what she must be going through, or what that experience must be like?
I was trying to imagine it, and it's hard for me to even put myself into what she's going through. Like, she's such a great human being, a great person. Obviously, I've been in her presence a few times, and, you know, you always feel like, you know, if you're from a certain place, you always feel like they got your back. And in a sense, like now, how could she feel like America has her back? Like, I would be feeling like, do I even want to go back to America if I've been gone over 130 days and I feel like it's been zero effort.
Pause there. So many things said here. Where do I start? I want to start with sort of the insinuation that because she is a talented woman that she's, above the law. And she goes, well, this is an amazing girl. She's in the WNBA. She's great. She's got this great career. True. But did she break the law? Yeah, she broke the law. So at the very baseline of this story, while I do feel bad for her, and because, Americans support Americans, this administration, if they can do something to help her out of the situation that she's in, I wouldn't mind that. I'm not going to judge them for doing that. We've done that for Americans in the past who have broken laws in other countries and find themselves in a predicament that they never expected that they would be in. Now, To her comments about protesting the United States of America. Seems like she's turned a new leaf on that. I wonder if it's genuine. We'll see when she does return. I imagine she will return at some point. But LeBron, first, they are helping her. Secondly, why would she want to return to America? You think she wants to stay in Russia? I think she's experiencing what freedom feels like in Russia. And she's certainly not running game over there. She's detained. So I think there's a lot of reasons to want to come back to America. And for me to see a man, and you know why he's saying this, LeBron James is very much invested in the systemic racism narrative in America, the Black Lives Matter organization. A man like that would say it because he thinks that America is not a place for her. And it's a place that does not support her. Because what? She's black and gay? That's why they wouldn't support her. But first of all, this administration is trying to help her. And secondly, LeBron is a billionaire. A billionaire. One of the richest black men in America. And yet is talking down to his country as if it's not the country that has provided him every single comfort that which he's attained so far. A life of luxury, a life of being able to play a sport for a living. How wondrous is that? How amazing is that? And even if you do believe in systemic racism, even if I looked at the camera right now and said, America's a systemically racist country against people of color, somehow LeBron still made it. So somehow, even through your oppression, you've managed as a black man to get over those barriers and reap all the benefits of living in this country. So do you not want to be here? Is that not a place that you would want to return to? I'm not understanding. And, you know, Taylor brought it to my attention that he has come and sort of apologized or at least walked back on his statement. He said here on his tweet, my comments on, quote, the shop, end quote, regarding Brittney Griner wasn't knocking our beautiful country. I was simply saying how she's probably feeling emotionally along with so many other emotions, thoughts, etc. Inside that cage she's been in for over 100+ days. Long story short, hashtag bring her home.
So LeBron's like, I wouldn't think that, but maybe she would think that.
Right. So, I was just thinking that emotionally, she would not want to come back to America after being held in a cage for 100+ days.
Is that not projecting on a woman, a queer
a queer woman?
Are you speaking for her? Are you mansplaining Brittney Griner's feelings right now, LeBron? Yeah, but
and you know, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, kind of, but it's not.
It's where that his immediate reaction was, oh, why would she want to come back to this country that's not going to bat for her? And the subtext is it's a racist, systemically racist country, and the blacks and gays are oppressed in this country so much, and so why would she ever want to come back? Which she's literally in a jail cell in Russia, and
right.
But America's the oppressive place. It just the gall. Like if you think back to remember when in the 80s they had the hostages that were stuck in Iran and the Carter administration couldn't get them out and Reagan got elected and they let them out. Like all of America was like, oh no, our citizens are trapped overseas in a country that does not share our values.
Yep.
And that is such a bad thing for them. And we need to get those Americans back to the land of liberty, the land I love. And that was the sentiment shared by everyone. But I guarantee you, there's a lot of people who agree with LeBron. And when a situation like this happens, it's not, oh my gosh, we need to get her back to America. We need to get her back to the land of freedom and safety.
Right.
It's, oh, well, maybe America's not a safe place for her and it's not going to bat for her. And does she even want to come back here?
Right.
So that's how far our culture has drifted to the mainstream narrative being anti-American. Any opportunity to cast America as a racist place, a systemically racist place, is seized upon. And that's the immediate reaction by the media and by everyone who just follows that mainstream line of thinking.
And I want to make the point because he says, America is, your country's turned its back on you. America's not working for you. If this had happened, if she had been detained in Russia during the previous administration, Mr. Trump, would he be saying it's America's fault or would he be saying it's Trump's fault that she's not out? What would he be saying? Because right now, we got President Biden up there, he's going, it's America. And the real clever thing, although he might not even realize what he's saying, the real clever thing about blaming America at large is that you have nobody to hold you accountable. America cannot respond to you when you criticize America. It's just a general thing that you get to just spew out and say. Nobody gets to rebut you. Nobody gets to come back and go, wait a second, whoa. There are certain people in this current administration who could be helping her and they're not helping her. It's not America's fault that she's still stuck in Russia. Also, she broke the law. She's not above the law because she can dunk a basketball. I don't know what you want people to do. And we should recognize that if she does get out of Russia without serving her sentence, if she does get out early in any way, shape, or form, that is a privilege. That is a nicety that does not need to be extended to anybody. It does not need to be extended to anybody. When you go to another country, when you sign up, when you buy your flight, when you land there, when you go there, you accept the laws of the land that you are in. You don't get to go, well, I'm an American. What do you mean I can't do drugs? What do you mean I can't take them to the airport? I'm an American. You don't get to do that. So if America does help her and get her out of here, guess what, baby? That's a favor. That's something that they did extra. You are indebted to your country in that sense. You owe something.
Should kiss the ground when you get off the plane.
Right, exactly. But instead, like Lebron is approaching it in this little shop talk as if we owe her. As if this current administration owns her. We don't. I'm so sorry, we don't. And now, would I ever want to be in that situation? No. And could an accident happen where you do something you don't know, you're breaking the laws of a country and you get detained? Yes, horrific. We've seen that happen in North Korea where a young man went there on a trip and he stole a poster and now he's dead. He's dead because of how the North Korean prison system and their government treated him. And certain countries, I'm sure, would arrest Americans purely because they hate Americans and say, well, they broke this law, and they will, torture and malnourish these people just to get back at America, as is probably what happened in that North Korean situation. Would I ever want to be in that situation? No. Would I hope that Americans would help me and that the administration of the time would help me get out of that country? Absolutely. But when they do, I owe them. When they do, that's a favor. When they do, that is a nicety that has been extended to me. And by all means, extend it to Brittney Griner. But I hope she comes back with a new mindset of, whoa, wait a second. I didn't realize I had all this freedom in the United States of America. I didn't realize I could carry around marijuana cartridges without getting in trouble in the country. I didn't realize I had freedom of speech. I didn't realize, how due process works and all these fun things. And if it goes with the trend, I was reading about the Russian court system. She's already pleaded guilty because if they take her to trial, there's very little chance that she's going to get acquitted. They acquit very few cases. Like, she's going away regardless. She's being found guilty regardless because they are so strict with their laws. So just showing you what you need to value. That's about it. That's all I got to say. Any other comments from the peanut gallery?
I don't know. What you think, Spencer?
I think LeBron James, arrogance is something you see on the court and off the court.
Yep.
Along with ignorance also. There's a certain side of him that he thinks he's better than everyone, and then there's another side where he just also doesn't understand. He makes anti-American claims way too frequently, and he should be held accountable. He should go to these countries that he says you might be better off living in and go there and live there for a few months and see if that's the same. There's a reason why we have a lot of Serbian and Russian NBA players. They're not playing mainly over there. They do get wonderful, positions as basketball players there. But you come here to make the big dollars, the big money, and actually make it a living.
Yep.
If LeBron wants to do that in Russia or another country, he should go for it.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah. Go ahead and try. And I think that's why a lot of young people will hear something like what LeBron just said and go, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, why would you want to come back here? Because they have no experience. And even I don't have any experience going to another country. None. But I can recognize that it's very different from being here. I would never want to be arrested in any other country than the United States, just for the sheer fact that I don't have an understanding of how their criminal justice system works. Just from that alone, I don't care if it's better than the United States. I don't have an understanding of it. I don't want to be detained in another country. So people, it's so easy to like, oh yeah, I'm sitting in my bedroom on Twitter. Why would you want to come back to America? Tweet when you literally have no idea what you're saying. You have no idea the implications of what you actually are saying when you tweet something like that. That's it. That's it. Now, moving on. We'll see if she comes back. We'll keep you updated on the story if there's anything that progresses out of that. Let's talk about some areas in America that might not be doing so well. And we're going to do it in, the window into America, which apparently is Starbucks. Apparently Starbucks is the window into America. Now, they've decided to get rid of 16 stores here in the States. Los Angeles, Seattle, Washington, D.C., Portland. What do all those places have in common? Destruction based off of progressive policy, literally ruining these cities, ruining them, destroying them, so much so that a franchise like Starbucks can't have their stores open in these areas. And, you know, I could have been speculating on that. That could have been something that I made up, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth, the CEO of Starbucks.
And I don't have to spend too much time on what's going on in the country and how America has become unsafe. But you all read the press release of the last couple of days about the fact that we are beginning to close stores that are not unprofitable. But we're closing stores as a result of the co-creation sessions that we've had. Almost 60 now, 25 in the SSC and the rest in the field. We had one yesterday in San Antonio. But in all of those sessions, it has shocked me that one of the primary concerns that our retail partners have is their own personal safety. And then we heard the stories that go along with it about what happens in our bathrooms. The issue of mental illness, the issues of homelessness, and the issues of crime. And Starbucks is a window into America. We have stores in every community, and we are facing things in which the stores were not built for. And so we're listening to our people and closing stores, and this is just the beginning. There are going to be many more.
This is just the beginning. There are going to be many more. And he even clarified, you know, these are not places where we are losing profit by any means. We are making money in these areas. I just simply can't find staffers who are willing to put their lives at risk to sling coffee. I cannot find people willing to sit in the storefront and give people drinks because they fear for their own lives. That's how bad these cities are. And again, what's the common denominator? Progressive policy. People going like in Los Angeles, petty theft? Not a felony anymore. You want to rob people? Not a felony anymore. Bail? Let's get rid of that. Plea deals? Candy. Parade candy. Here you go. Here's a plea deal. Here's a plea deal. You essentially have criminals going, you know what? This is my lifestyle now. This is a career. I'm going to start robbing people. Maybe I get arrested. Most likely you don't, because the police either A, can't respond fast enough, or feel handcuffed in their own jobs. Like, I don't want to touch this situation. What if something bad happens to me? What if I lose my livelihood? What if I end up in jail because I respond to a crime happening right in front of me? So you got people robbing, looting, beating people up, smash and grabs, and if they get arrested, they're back the next day to do it again. But often they don't get arrested. They can just do whatever they want. And this is affecting Starbucks, okay? So this is a massive, massive corporate franchise. What about the little guys? What about the mom and pops? What about the people who own one single store or a little fruit stand, which are all over places like Los Angeles? What happens when they can't do their business anymore? Because for this guy, this CEO, okay, these are big stores. They're profitable stores and you're losing them, but Starbucks can take that hit. Can your aunt take the hit when her hat store gets everything robbed out of it? Can your uncle take the hit when his jewelry store gets robbed? And it's happening in broad daylight. And something that he said here that just blows my mind, he goes, I was shocked. I was shocked to hear about the state of our stores. And isn't that so often the case? You know, people in their ivory towers go and fight for this legislation and say, you know, oh, I'm totally with that because it's restorative justice. It's in the name of social justice. I'm going to go back to my home in Beverly Hills and I'll never hear another word of this because it's never going to affect me. So I'm shocked to hear that my little plebeian employees are you know, experiencing this stuff in the stores. Because it's now come to you. Because you never would have felt that if nobody had told you. And isn't that the case for all of these cities right now? We're just like living in garbage and filth and homelessness and drug abuse and mental health and crime and going, hey guys, can you help us? Can you help us? Can you help us? And they go, oh, well, that's racist. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to let him hit you in the head with the pipe like happened to that one Olympic athlete.
Yeah.
You just have to let that happen. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm going to do about this. There's too much stigma, too much racism around it. And I mean, the last ride along that I did, I was in the car with police officers and we were driving around Watts and you get a call. This guy has a gun. He's brandishing a weapon. He's run, set up a perimeter. They go and set up a perimeter. While we were engaging in that, going to set up a perimeter around this place, a car pulls up. The man rolled down his window and he goes, hey guys, My house is legit getting robbed. The guy broke in my window. He's in my house right now. And this is a big dude, big man. He's like, I don't want to go F this guy up. So I'm coming to you because he's in my house and he's been in there and I've been driving around. He said, I already told 2 squad cars that this guy was breaking into my house. Neither of them responded. So he drives away. The cop says, don't go confront the guy. Just leave it be. Leave it be. I go, okay, well, so when are you going to go respond to the guy who's literally had his house broken into? Maybe a couple hours. What do you mean maybe a couple hours? We got too many people dealing with the guy with the gun over here. A girl just got shot over there. I can't go over to that. Technically, that's not a pressing issue for us. You're driving. There's prostitutes all up Figueroa. I mean hundreds. I'm not talking 1 or 2 prostitutes. I'm talking on every single corner on Figueroa. You have 5 to 10 girls wearing little strip bikinis that you can completely see through. Moms are walking their kids home, walking their kids to school at 7 in. Hundreds of sex-trafficked prostitutes standing on the side of the street, and vice cops have to just roll right by. Roll right by. Because we don't want the prostitute, we want the pimp. Why am I going to arrest her? And these girls some of them beg to be arrested. Please take me off the street for one night so I don't have to do this anymore. This is what the cities are facing. And then you go to your legislators and you go, hey, I just saw this. Can you help us? That's racist. I'm sorry. I'm for defunding the police. The girls are begging. The people in these communities are begging for police presence. I'm sorry. That looks real bad on me. I don't have words. I do have words. But I couldn't possibly have the right words for what I think of these people.
Now, here's a question. If progressive policies are experimenting with, okay, well, we know what traditional policies have done and what kind of society that created. So we're experimenting with new ways supposedly to improve things and make things better. Mm-hmm. So if we're looking at these cities, progressive cities, are the experiments of progressive policies succeeding or failing? Because are they failing because things are terrible, or is this what their success looks like? Because if the outcome, we talk about you shouldn't judge policies by their intentions, but their results. Milton Friedman famously said that. We see the results of these policies. Not only are things unsafe, are there open air drug use all over these progressive cities, as their crime rampant, but you're driving out businesses and crushing the economy and hurting people who are trying to make an honest living, and it's just completely unlivable. So is that the success that they are trying to create? Are their policies succeeding, or is this failure? By their own definition, how would you even answer that question?
Do you even know? Like, how do you even know? And I did look it up, actually. I looked up the LA Times, my camera died, but looked up the LA Times article of the locations in LA where Starbucks closed. One of them is in Santa Monica. I've visited that location before. And guess what? I do remember it's on Oceanfront Walk, which is the boardwalk in Santa Monica. I've been to that one. Guess what? There are needles everywhere. There are people shooting up heroin right there, and cops walk by. Right. And that's the unfortunate part. So I think you can't really contribute it to, is it the success or failure? Because it's kind of honestly hard to tell, which is the sad part. Yeah, it's like, dude, your intent doesn't matter. Your results matter. I know your intent is to end systemic racism, but guess what? Your results matter. And people are dying. And people are homeless, and people are mentally ill, and people are overrun with drugs. And when you see like a video like this, the CEO's like, okay, well, we're just going to pull the stores then. Is that a solution though? And it's not on him to have the solution, right? It's on the states. It's on the legislators. It's on the people who are public servants, or supposedly meant to be public servants, but somehow enter their office and leave with millions of dollars. It is their job. So essentially, what did we do here in LA? If you go to downtown LA, we have a problem with homelessness. They are overwhelming the streets. They're doing drugs in the streets. They're bothering patrons to businesses. I have an idea. Let's create something called Skid Row. And Skid Row is essentially a place in the city that we're going to go, here, this is yours. I know you're not paying for it. I know you're probably mentally ill. I know you're probably drug addicted and you need help. But here's Skid Row for you. And we'll leave that for you. And you can be all there. Well, and we'll let people patronize downtown LA, okay? But Skid Row grows and grows and grows and grows. And now you have these cities that are just utterly disgusting and people are in danger. And then places like Starbucks and CVS and Walgreens go, I'm going to leave, actually. This is not sustainable for me or my employees. I'm going to leave. So these big franchises leave. The small mom and pop shop leaves. Who comes in? Who comes back? The people who are going to sell
you drugs. The people who are going to take advantage of the mentally ill or nobody at all comes. So you create a slum in your nation. And if the slums go from just Skid Row to the entire city of Los Angeles and then out and out and out and out, we can't have that happen. So there are many people who have proposed solutions to this. Michael Schellenberger wrote a book called San Francisco where he talks about state-funded mental health care. And I know a lot of conservatives will go like, whoa, we don't want the state taking care of that. Isn't that socialism? But if you come here and you see what's going on, something needs to be done. And California is approaching this, and a lot of cities are approaching this with, I'm going to take a housing first approach. Let's just give them houses. That solves the problem. As long as they have somewhere with 4 walls, that solves the problem. No, doesn't, because they don't stay. The mental health problems continue. The drug abuse problems continue, and it festers and gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So what are we doing? We're not doing the right thing. And if people cannot judge their policy based on its results, we're going to fail. And the Starbucks are going to leave, and the mom and pop shops leaves, and every single franchise leaves, and you're left with nothing. You know, so often the left talks about gentrification, right? Like you have these areas, these projects, these ghettos, and suddenly there's a Starbucks there. Or suddenly there's like a nice coffee shop or a nice bookstore, and then a theme park, and then something else, and then something else. And the area gets gentrified, as they say, where these low-income people are now living amongst people who have raised the prices and all these things. What is this? This is like the opposite of gentrification. We're destroying areas and then allowing it to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and affect all the people who once lived there. Which one would you prefer? Because I'm going to prefer the gentrification part, because this is not working for me whatsoever. So yeah, that's it. That's, like he said, there's going to be many more. And when he says that, isn't that the truest statement of all time? Not only is there going to be many more Starbucks, there's going to be many more shootings. There's going to be many more prostitutes. There's going to be many more homeless people. There's going to be many more dealing with mental health problems, because we're doing literally nothing about it. The next time I go on a ride along, I need to take a camera with me and show you guys exactly what it is that I see, because words do not do it justice. They really do not do it justice. I have seen, we'll get into this story real quick. Maybe I'll do a whole separate video on this. But one of the most devastating ride-alongs I've ever been on was, I want to say, on a Thursday night. A Thursday night I went on a ride-along into Watts, and it was maybe 10, 11 at night. We were riding around, and I was riding around with 2 girls who are part of a mentorship program in Watts. They're 2 girls who unfortunately have to live in this neighborhood. You go to their houses, there's bullet holes in their houses where they're supposed to go and do their homework. They, when a shooting happens in their neighborhood, call the police officers to ask if they're okay. That's who these girls are. And they are brilliant, hardworking, all getting full ride scholarships because somebody found them and recognized that talent. Think about the kids who live there that don't get that chance. So I'm riding along with these 2 girls, and it's supposed to be a very safe ride along. We weren't even responding to calls because we were with these 2 girls, and I was just trying to have a conversation with them. We're driving down the street. A woman comes running out, screaming for paramedics, gloves on her hands, covered in blood. And we roll up, and a car is at a telephone pole. Well, that's real weird. Okay. We get out of the car. The girls go to another cop car, and they're taken away. Walk over, dead man, right on the street. And you think, oh, well, maybe he just got in a car accident. He tried to get out of the car, and he didn't make it. They're literally doing CPR in this guy. Dies. Why? Because he was shot. Shot by the gangs in the area. Now, I've been able to actually go through, and because of the experience that I've had with police officers and the work that I'm doing trying to highlight their stories, got to go through a little bit of the investigation process that they do with this. This guy is driving in his car, and 2 gang members walk up, boom, 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 right into the car. He crashes, boom, boom, boom. They finish him off. He tries to get out. And these people, when we drive up to the area, you got kids, I'm talking 13, 14, standing next to this body, looking at it, smoking a cigarette. They are so used to the amount of just sheer and utter violence that it does not faze them. This is normal life. And that is no more than 20 minutes away from where we are right now. Where we are right now talking to you. That's happening. That's those kids' lives. It doesn't even faze them at all anymore. And to hear your politicians go, oh, well, look at the work that we're doing in Watts, and we need to control what the police are able to do. And in fact, we need to talk about racism in policing rather than fixing these issues. They're just like, oh, to hell with all these kids that are growing up in this area and doing nothing about it. So Starbucks leaving a city, boo-hoo, whatever. But it means much more than that. It's something that is going to get much, much worse. And what those kids experience is going to seep out into other areas. And it's already devastating enough for them. So if you're living in one of these areas, I don't know, write to your legislators, make a fuss about it. Because this is some BS. Cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. I promise we're going to end the show on a good note. Give you something promising that maybe is not happening in our country, but is still promising nonetheless. As you all know, or maybe you know, Boris Johnson has stepped down and resigned from being the Prime Minister of the UK, the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom, believe it or not, faces all of the same problems that we're facing. I've met some English people who, at a conference a few weeks ago, who walked up to me and they're like, I love your videos, I love what you're doing. You need to come to England because it's worse over here. What you guys are experiencing is 10 times worse where we are. And you hear that and you're just like, oh, man.
Yeah, well.
We're in trouble.
That's saying a lot.
It is saying a lot. It's saying a lot to say it's worse over there. But here is a possible pick for the next Prime Minister of the UK. I hope I say her name right. It's Kemi Badenoch. And here's her talking about critical race theory.
What we are against is the teaching of contested political ideas as if they are accepted facts. We don't do this with communism. We don't do this with socialism. We don't do it with capitalism. And I want to speak about a dangerous trend in race relations that has come far too close to home to my life. And it is the promotion of critical race theory, an ideology that sees my blackness as victimhood and their whiteness as oppression. I want to be absolutely clear. This government stands unequivocally against critical race theory. Some schools have decided to openly support the anti-capitalist Black Lives Matter group, often fully aware that they have a statutory duty to be politically impartial. Black lives do matter, of course they do. But we know that the Black Lives Matter movement, capital BLM, is political. I know this because at the height of the protest, I've been told of white Black Lives Matter protesters calling, and I'm afraid I apologize for saying this word, calling a black armed police officer guarding Downing Street a pet nigger. That is why we do not endorse that movement on this side of the House. It is a political movement, and what would be nice would be for members on the opposite side to condemn many of the actions that we see this political movement instead of pretending that it is a completely wholesome anti-racist organization. There is a lot of pernicious stuff that is being pushed, and we stand against that. We do not want to see teachers teaching their white pupils about white privilege and inherited racial guilt. And let me be clear, any school which teaches these elements of critical race theory as fact, or which promotes partisan political views such as defunding the police without offering a balanced treatment of opposing views, is breaking the law.
Woo! Coming in hot, baby. That's good.
Elect her immediately.
People like her.
I'm like, I don't know what her views are on any other subject, but based on this alone, like if I had to make a judgment based on how they treated this specific, get her in there.
Yep.
New prime minister. Because this is reason. This is logic. And most people are in this camp. I can't stress it enough. We cannot be scared to say these things. So many people are scared to say these things. But when you do, look at all the reasonable people who will be there to support you. I'm hoping, just judged off of this, that this is the future. In whatever way, shape, or form, whether or not it's her or somebody else that expresses these views. That should be the future. That's what needs to happen. And you know, we talk about these problems, and I know maybe this show was a little bit depressing. Don't want to depress you, because the fact that we can sit here and talk about it, and all of you recognize how sad it is, all of you recognize how wrong it is, all of you recognize how much this lacks reason. Okay, let's just get a few more of you in positions of power. Let's get a few more of you making those decisions, because we exist. I mean, the people who are pushing this stuff that's affecting us in this way and this creating this devastatingly horrible society, they represent a small group of people who are seemingly ideologically possessed and don't care about the results of their actions. They only care about the intent. They only care about virtue signaling. They only care about agenda. There's so many people who don't agree with that. So I am forever optimistic that the future of this country is a reasonable, logical, and healthy one, because we exist and we're still able to have these conversations. What I just want to see is some bravery. Some bravery.
Be unapologetic. It's the name of the show.
Be unapologetic. I want to see some more Kemi Badenochs. And honestly, I'm like, I want to invite her on the show. Because normally we can't have politicians, but she's a UK politician.
Yeah.
I can invite her on the show. I could reach out to her and see if we can have a little discussion.
This is her invite officially, Kemi.
Kemi Badenoch.
And if you guys are watching this, leave a comment if you want Amala to invite her on the show.
Yes, because we need to have more people like this having discussions because there is hope. You know, we just got to be loud about it. We just got to have the conversations about it because they're so loud. They're so loud. It hurts my ears.
And I mean, going back to how we started the show, it was, hey, be willing, have the courage to put your thoughts, put your position into words and put it out there and be unapologetic about speaking your mind and thinking for yourself. That's really what this show's all about. And we, like Amala said, we need hundreds of Kemis. The world would be a much better place if people figured out how to use their words and speak their minds instead of being shunned into silence. Our culture right now is dominated by people who think they can shame you into not speaking your mind, into not thinking for yourself, into just towing the line and saying what you're supposed to say to be accepted or nice or kind or whatever, but they get to define what that means, and don't let them. You use your own brain, use your own words, and figure out what it is, where your values are, what it is that you think. You don't have to agree with us on every single issue, but we need your voice, and we need people out there going to school board meetings, parents. We need young people speaking up among their peers and on social media. We need your voice. And Amala says it sometimes. It's funny when we're talking. She's like, I shouldn't have to be doing this. I'm a 22-year-old girl. This should not be my job, trying to talk sense into the world. But she stepped out on a limb, and all these other things opened up because the world needs it, and they need your voice too. And so hopefully, if we're leaving on a good note this weekend, that is something that you should take with you, is that you should be inspired to speak up.
Yes, absolutely. Go out and have some difficult conversations. And speaking of having difficult conversations, we have a new special coming out on Sunday, and the special surrounds the question, is America racist? I went out to the streets of LA and started asking people, is America systemically racist? We got a lot of different opinions on the matter, as you can probably guess. Most people, of course, said yes. We got a few passing yeses and people who didn't want to be interviewed, but we did interview people across the spectrum. You know, we got somebody who said, yes, it absolutely is, and was like advocating for full communism and got super mad when he found out we were from PragerU. We had somebody who said, yes, it is racist. And then when I started talking about some of my ideals and maybe not putting the conservative label on them, but just speaking about them as ideas, he's like, absolutely. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. We got people who, you know, said, absolutely not. I don't think this country's systemically racist. And then we got some very nuanced views about, you know, I think there can be instances of systemic racism that need to be taken care of, but they don't encompass the entirety of someone's life and all the barriers set in front of them. And so many great conversations. Even the bad conversations were good conversations to have and highlight. So on Sunday, that'll be coming out. You guys can check it out. We'll put out a little teaser trailer for it either today or over the weekend that you guys can see. Just little pieces of the conversation that we're going to be having. So I'm excited, and I hope it inspires you to go out and have those conversations. Because I think maybe some people, you know, they just don't want to get into the argument. They don't want to go back and forth. They don't want to have somebody best them in an argument. Totally okay. It's fine. Even though I feel very well versed in the things that I believe, I'm sure I could have an issue where I talk to somebody and they trump me sometimes. Like my boyfriend and I disagree sometimes on different issues, guns in particular. And sometimes I'll get into a little debate and we'll go back and forth about it. And I'm like, oh, you got me there. You got me there. And now I need to like brush up and see where I'm at, or maybe adjust my view on something. And that's a wonderful thing. It can be uncomfortable at times, but that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to go through, experience, and to give yourself a little bit of adversity. Adversity is strengthening. Yeah. I think.
It's there's a famous saying in I think in MMA fighting, it's win or learn, or in sports in general. Yeah. And you know, the goal is if you're truth seeking, you should be more interested in getting more truth and having better arguments, having a better, more accurate worldview that corresponds to reality more than you are winning one individual argument. You win if you get closer to the truth. That's what winning is. And so don't be afraid of engaging in conversation where you might not quote unquote win. If that's not your goal, and if your goal is the truth, then you shouldn't be thinking in those terms when you approach conversation. Your goal should just be to learn. Absolutely.
And I think that's where we're going to close out today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Also, thank you so much for getting us to 100,000. That's insane. Beautiful.
He had it ready.
100K, baby. We're going to keep growing, and we're never going to stop. I also wanted to mention, I know a lot of you are like, Amala, where are the live streams at? Why are you not live? Why are you not live? Bear with us. There's going to be some changes and ins and outs and things like that. We're thinking about how we're going to do this because we want to get all that YouTube has to offer. We want to do the short clips for you guys and those short reactions, which are very easy for us to create for you guys so that you guys have more content. We want to do live streams so you have somebody to interact with and we can go back and forth and I can get how you're feeling on these breaking news stories when they happen. And we also want the shorts. We want the interviews. We want everything to happen. So we're working out the kinks. We're figuring out, do we want to do live streams Monday, Wednesday? Do we want them Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Do we want them Tuesday, Thursday? So bear with us. They're going to be all over the place. I'm going to keep in touch with you guys through YouTube community and let you know. I'm also going to get all of your input on how you'd like to see us proceed with the YouTube channel because it doesn't work if you guys don't like what we're doing. Okay? Oh,
But by the way, a great way for you to have your voice heard in what kind of content you want to see is whatever you like the most, share it and engage with it, like it, comment on it, because whatever we see the most engagement on, we'll most likely do more of. So
yes.
Absolutely. There's your way. If you want your way, engage more.
Yeah, we're all
share more.
And by the way, speaking about engaging, that last reel that I did, the last short on this channel, if you go check it out with Andrew Tate and Dave Portnoy, I corrected Dave Portnoy on something that he said because you guys can check out the short. You can see what the correction was. But Andrew Tate shared it and he called out Dave Portnoy, so we might be starting a little bit of drama.
Amala just inserted herself right into that whole drama and now making waves. What can I say?
It's so often what happens with this podcast. I come and I see something on the internet and I'm like, let's talk about it and let's just bring a little bit of levity to this, and then all of a sudden it becomes a whole thing and people hate me. But that's life. C'est la vie, c'est la mort. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every maybe single day we go live. I don't know about that.
Every time we do go live.
Every time we do go live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, or some other time if you guys suggest something that is better or that you'd like to see. It's up in the air at the moment, but I promise we will get things down to a science once we have the science, you know. Our side doesn't typically follow science, do we? Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below. What is your opinion on this 10-year-old abortion rape case? I really want to know about that more so than any other story that we talked about today. What is your opinion on it? Do you feel like I gave it a fair shake talking about the criticism that I have for both sides on this? Is there something that I missed, something that you wish I said, something where you think I've gone wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. And then again, give me your personal feelings on it. Taylor and I differ. I'm sure Spencer differs from where I'm at on that or where Taylor's on that. So there's always room in the spectrum of beliefs that an individual can have. So let me know yours. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys on Monday and we'll have some content over